Hi everybody, it's Mimi with Manifesting, Breadcrumb number 3, Removing Fear. This is a really hot topic for me because I've come across people, have friends, I've had family members who are just constantly living in a state of fear and almost using fear as a driver for their behavior, their thinking, their decision making. And it's a really toxic, negative, disempowering energy. And the breadcrumb I have for you today is from The Game of Life and How to Play It. Passionate favorite book of mine from Florence Scovel Shin. And it's just chock full of all kinds of goodies, all kinds of breadcrumbs. So Florence says, I have a friend who said nothing could induce her to walk under a ladder. I said, if you're afraid, you are giving into a belief in two powers, good and evil. Sound familiar? Instead of one. As God is absolute, there can be no opposing power unless man makes the false of evil in himself. Now, just a side note about the mention of God. Florence mentions God a lot in her book. God is really referring to your inner being or your inner divine being, your infinite power within. So if you're not a religious person, don't let that turn you off to the kind of heart of what Florence is getting at. So she then goes on to say, to show you believe in only one power, God, and that there is no power or reality in evil, walk under the next ladder you see. Soon after, she went to her bank. She wished to open her box in the safe deposit vault, and there stood a ladder on her pathway. It was impossible to reach the box without passing under the ladder. She quailed with fear and turned back. She could not face the lion on her pathway. What do they say about facing a lion? You got to stand strong and be firm. Hold your power. However, when she reached the street, my words rang in her ears, and she decided to return and walk under it. It was a big moment in her life, for ladders had held her in bondage for years. Can you imagine? Years. She retraced her steps to the vault, and the ladder was no longer there. This so often happens. If one is willing to do a thing he is afraid to do, he does not have to. It is the law of non-resistance, which is so little understood. Someone has said that courage contains genius and magic. Face a situation fearlessly, and there is no situation to face it. It falls away of its own weight. The explanation is that fear attracted the ladder on the woman's pathway, and fearlessness removed it. Thus, the invisible forces are ever working for a man who is always pulling the strings himself, though he does not know it. Owing to the vibratory power of words, whatever man voices, he begins to attract. People who continually speak of disease invariably attract it. So the point here is, if you are one of those people who's continually thinking of the fearful thing or situation first and speaking that, you are creating the opportunity for it to take place. I had a friend just the other day, she's trying to buy an apartment, and she literally said, I'm not going to get it. And we had a conversation about this, and her belief was that she'd put in an offer and it had been knocked back, but the apartment hadn't been sold. And so she was going to the auction on the weekend. And she was trying to give in to her fears a way to protect herself, thinking that she was going to be happier as a result in giving into the fear. But what she didn't, and she wasn't happy as a result of it. She was very disappointed. She was sad. She wants the apartment. So it didn't help her anyway in giving into the fear, giving into the disappointment that she wasn't going to get it, and giving into the fear didn't make her happier anyway. And so it didn't reach the intended outcome. So she would have been better off actually just living in the feeling, even if it was, gosh, wouldn't it be great if I get this apartment, and just kind of living in the possibility if believing it was hers was kind of too far out of her reach, just living in the possibility would have made her feel better. But this just highlights the creative power of fear and how fear can be a really negative, quote, evil. Although Florence also highlights that evil doesn't exist, right? And this kind of goes back to the whole concept. I don't know if any of you were raised in a religious faith. I was raised Catholic, and there was always this huge fear around the devil and evil and all these things. And that is just a really negative energy. But, you know, as I said, a lot of people think that fear is a motivator, and it's a protector, but it's actually not. It immediately puts up a barrier of resistance, as Florence talks about. And if you have resistance, you can't attract in what you want. So you have to practice non-resistance, which means letting go of the fear, letting go of the belief that having fear is going to protect you, and going beyond the fear, standing up to the fear, and staying rooted in your belief in what you're trying to create. So I hope that little breadcrumb helps you and shifts your thinking around fear and the benefits of fear, because I can certainly say there is no benefit to fear except creating more fear and more negativity. It's not going to protect you. It's not going to make you happier. It's giving you a false sense of security, and it's actually preventing you from creating what you want. So I hope that little breadcrumb helps you and gets you back on your path to manifesting, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.